We have today a couple of incredible Vendastians, Kaz Lim and John Neher. So we also have Mr. Leon, who I harassed just like a little bit at the beginning, but Leon is actually one of our junior product designers, and so he works alongside Kaz and John quite a bit. And so I just want to give them a quick introduction. Oops, what did I do here? There we go. So John, do you wanna give a little wave? There he is. There he is. So he's the product marketing manager for marketing automations, and John works with customers to understand what you find folks want to do, and then works with our product teams to help translate those needs into products so everyone can be super excited about. So John actually joined Vendasta in 2020 directly in our support team, and he's been listening to you wonderful people ever since. He also, it's kind of intense, but he has 5+ bands, and I just learned he's playing in a festival in New York next week. So any of our Eastern New York folks, if you're here, maybe John can drop a little bit of a link in the chat. Go hang out with him, meet him in the flesh. So welcome, John. And then next, Kaz Lim. Kaz, do you want to give us a little bit of a wave? Where'd you go?
Hello.
There she is. Hello. So she is, okay, this is like not a joke. Like she is the actual reigning air guitar champion of Saskatchewan, which is our province. Maybe she'll do a little demo at the end if we have a little time, but I'm not joking. Like air guitar, she kicks ass. So after winning the provincial air guitar title, she actually got a free flight and hotel to compete in nationals in air guitar. But outside of that, she's a developer in a few companies before joining Vendasta in 2019. Kaz and I actually started like a week apart, so we were Vendasta University buddies. Still going strong. 3 years in the funness of Vendasta, and she joined as a developer, but then she transitioned to become a product manager for our automations team. So welcome to you both. I'll hand it over to you to talk about automations and what's the difference between marketing automations. Over to you two.
Sweet. Thanks, Colleen, for that intro. I might do a air guitar at the end. We'll see. Let's see. Let's share my screen. Can you guys see this screen here? Yep,
we got you.
Awesome, cool. I'm not used to Zoom, so. Okay, so like Colleen said, I'm Kaz, the product manager for automations and also air guitar champion of Saskatchewan. Today I've got a short presentation about what automations are, how to create and monitor them. And then I'll also go over a couple of new releases that we haven't even made announcements for yet. So you guys are gonna be kind of first in the know. And then we'll stop for questions, and my buddy John will go over some examples of building them and how they relate to marketing automation. So right off the bat.
And everyone, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. We'll get to them at the end.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so what are automations? So automations are a set of instructions that tell the platform when this specific trigger happens, then perform this action, or simply when this event happens, then do this action. But why use automation? So they streamline manual workflows, they connect different parts of the platform that wouldn't normally be connected, they reduce human error, and you can respond to your clients faster. And I've got a couple examples of automations that some people have made. Some examples of pre-sale automations are when RepMan Express is activated, start a product education campaign, or when an opportunity status changes, send in an in-app notification to your team, or for setting up trial periods for your local business online toolkit. When there's a new account, activate the trials, send email campaigns, and then deactivate the trial after 14 days. Some post-sale automation examples are if you use Vendasta payments and a customer payment fails, you can notify an admin so that you can keep track of their payments. If a new account is set up, send a welcome email, or when a product is activated, you can create a fulfillment project to stay on top of fulfillment tasks. Or if you're not bound to the notion of pre and post sale and you want to improve your end-to-end workflow, you could do that too, just like make a really big automation. We can make automations that span across, the whole platform. A hypothetical example, because I love dinosaurs, is imagine we've got a product, Dinosaur Egg Express and Dinosaur Egg Pro. If Dinosaur Egg Express is activated, then start an email campaign to upsell Dinosaur Egg Pro, then wait like 60 days for Dinosaur Egg Pro to be activated. And if they do, then notify the account assigned salesperson and then create a fulfillment project for Dinosaur Egg Pro. If this product actually existed in the store, this automation is possible to create. So you could definitely do this with existing products right now. I've seen people create similar or more complex workflows, but they don't all have to be complex like this. Automations are super versatile. You can have really simple ones that are basically like do a single action when an event happens, or you can create really complex workflows that like wait at specific steps, then branch based on certain conditions and loop a certain number of times. It's effectively programming through our UI. I've created an automation that flickers my lights when any partner's clients activate a product. So like that's how versatile you can make automations. But the best part is simple or complex automations will use a combination of the same 3 building blocks to create a workflow. So those building blocks are triggers, logic steps, and action steps. But all you need in a fully functioning automation is a trigger to kick it off and then an action to do. And I'll go over logic steps a little bit later, but first we'll go over triggers. So triggers are specific events that start your workflows. You always need a trigger to start an automation, and we have lots to choose from, and we're always adding more. We do have resource articles that show what the available triggers we have right now are, and we'll send a link in the chat for that. Triggers also have trigger conditions that let you further filter what starts your workflow. So like in this picture, if an account is created, that's the trigger. And the salesperson is John. This is a filter. We have a couple other filters that you can do. Like within account data, you can have tags, account location, account categories, active products, and more. So like if an account is created and they have dinosaur eggs activated, then start the automation. But yeah, triggers are basically what starts an automation run, and then the automation will carry out a series of action steps. So for action steps, these are events that you want to happen once your workflow starts. You need at least one action step for your automation to actually do something, but you can have as many steps as you want. The biggest automation I've seen so far has had 47 actions in it. And automations will generally work top down unless you add some logic steps that'll tell it not to. And I'll go over that later, but generally they go in order like this one, this one, this one. To add an action, you basically just click this like plus icon. And when you do, this side panel will pop up giving you a list of all the different steps that you can choose from. We also have a list of the available action steps that we can send a link to our resource article page for that. But basically, action steps are where the magic happens. We've got a big list of triggers that you can choose from that span across Vendasta, and then a big list of actions that you can do. And this is how you can make connections between things that there weren't connections between before. So like when a link in an email campaign is clicked, you can add the account to a list. Or in my case, if a product is activated, use the trigger a webhook step to flicker my lights. And then logic steps are what gives you the options to change the flow of your automation in some way. If you want your automation to just flow normally, like top down, action performed immediately after the other, like I said earlier, you don't need logic steps at all. But this just adds a little bit more versatility to your workflow. So some of the logic steps you can do things like delay for a set amount of time or delay until an event happens. You can branch out based on certain conditions, like in an if-else branch, or even jump to another step in the workflow, which is what I mean about being able to like loop to something in the beginning. So you reach that step, you can loop to something previous. And we've got a list of the logic steps that you can do as well, more resource articles there. But a couple examples here is like this is an example of a delay. Wait for 5 days before moving on to the next step. This one here in the left is an example of an if-else branch. You basically can specify any number of conditions when you reach this step. We go down the list in order, and as soon as one of these is met, then we go down that branch. So like here, let's say we have an account from Australia. If we do this step, we'll check first thing, is it in Canada? If it is, we'll go down this branch. It's not. Is it in the States? If it is, we go down this branch, but it's not. So we'd go down this branch, and then you can have different actions happen that happen based on what branch you're in. So like in here, you might be like, add to Canada list, add to the States list, add to other countries list or something. And then this last example I've got here is the jump to step example. You can use this to jump to another step in the workflow a certain number of times. An example of this might be like, check if a fulfillment task has been completed. If it hasn't, send them an email, wait a few days, and then jump back, check if it's been complete. If it hasn't, send an email, jump over and over again until that task has been done. And these are just a couple examples of some of the logic steps that we do have available. Some of them do get a little bit more complex, like A/B branching or rate filtering, but we've got lots of documentation on there. But yeah, that's it. Those are the three components in an automation. When you do go to create an automation, we have templates that you can start from. So when you go like to the create screen, it'll give you a bunch of templates you can choose from. Another really great way to get started with automations is using natural language to help you build one. Just think about what you would be telling somebody else to do. So like when an account is added to a list, then send an email campaign, or like when a product is activated, then notify a salesperson. And some examples that might need logic steps are when an opportunity is created, wait 14 days, then create a sales task, or when a task status is changed. If the active products do not include social marketing, then create opportunity. Yeah, and those are basically just starting points to put together these building blocks that I was talking about, those 3 building blocks, and you have a workflow. Once you've finished your workflow, you can go into the settings tab. So like you'd be editing your workflow here, you can go into the settings tab. And this is where you want to specify the automation entry settings and the error handling settings. So entry settings are whether you want the automation to run once per entity or multiple times if the event happens more than once. So like, for example, you may want the automation to happen every time an event happens, like someone on an account looks at a product page, then make the account have 2 hotness flames and send a salesperson notification. You might want that to happen every time. And this is also where you could specify your error handling settings. So if an error occurs during a run, so like if you had a 47 step automation and an error happens like in the 12th step, what do you want it to do? Do you want it to ignore the error, continue on to the next steps, or do you want it to just stop right then and there? If you do stop then and there, if you choose that option, you'll be able to resume it again in the activity table, which leads me to the activity table. So the automation activity table is just in the next tab over. Once you have your automation turned on, you use these switches to turn them on, and we'll show you in a bit. But yeah, this is where you'd monitor any activity that's happened in this activity tab. Anytime an automation triggers, you'd see all the steps happen here. And if you set it to stop on errors, whenever there is an error, you'd see like this button here, it failed to complete due to an error. Maybe the error, like you'd be able to hover over it. It'd say like no user on the account. You can go add a user and then continue on this new step. So you'd click that button and then it'd give you a list of steps to start again from. And then you'd be able to restart that automation run with the user added. And you can also use this table to end runs that are in like a waiting stage. So if you had like a wait for 14 days and you decide, oh, I don't want to do that anymore, you can just click end. But that's it. That's how to create and monitor your automations. You can make as many automations as you want. You'll find them in the automations page here. And to get there, you'd go to Partner Center, Automations, My Automations. And we've got like filtering so you can see what market the automation runs for, what status is in, and who updated it last. And then we also have another tab here for built-in automations, which are already on and running for all partners. So built-in automations are automations that Vendasta has made and are only on by default and are on by default for all partners. Basically, think of them as new features that you can customize to tailor suit your needs. So, for example, if you have a client that adds items to their shopping cart but didn't purchase them, we have a built-in automation already that will automatically send them a reminder. But if you want, you can customize that further by going to the built-in automations page and then deciding, I want this to also send a salesperson notification. So you would just have to make a copy of that built-in automation, edit it the same way that you would, just like a regular automation that you were making, just like with the Build Plus tab, delete whatever you want, and then turn that automation on and then turn this built-in automation off. So instead of us just like forcing you guys to have this notification the way we want it, you can now customize the workflow. But yeah, for those of you that are familiar with automations already, I just wanted to touch a little bit on some new releases that I'm excited about, some shameless plugs here. The first is data passing. We basically now allow you to run a step that uses information from a previous step. So the first data passing example that we've made is, as an action, you can create a fulfillment project, and then you can use a delay until action to wait until that fulfillment project is complete before moving on. So that's this step is waiting for something from this step. And we're going to be looking into a couple other delay until data passing things next, which is fulfillment tasks and products. But if you guys have, suggestions or things that you want smarter automations for, let us know. And the last thing that I want to talk about is the new releases of draining runs. Let's say you have an automation that is on and currently running, and you want to make changes or stop it, but you do have a few runs in process. You can stop the automation and have the existing runs finish. Like, we could let them drain, but not start anymore. And this is our first step towards versioning. So more changes to this coming soon, but pretty excited about that. Yeah, now just a recap. Automations are a set of instructions. When this thing happens, do this other thing. You can use them to streamline your workflows, connect different parts of the platform, reduce human error, respond to your clients faster. And if you don't know where to start, just take a look at some of our built-in automations and templates that exist to simplify creation. And that was it from me. I can stop here for questions, and then my good buddy John will share his screen and go over a few examples and how this relates to marketing automations.
Charmaine has a question. If you create an automation for an event that already happened, that is an account created last week, can you manually kick off the automation and have the action occur based on the event that occurred in the past?
You can have manually created, you can trigger automations manually, but instead of like an account is created trigger, you're going to want to use this trigger instead. So it's triggered manually. I have a cup in front of the save button. There we go. Okay. Sorry. So this automation is triggered manually. I'll just put like a random, this is a really big one that I would have to fill out, a random action here just to show you. I should move that cup. Turn this on. Untitled. There we go. That way we can find it. So you can go to like an account that was created last week or whatever. Go into that account page and then start manual automation. I forgot to check what market it was in, but like it would show up here if I had made it for the right market. So you make an account hot is a manual automation. You click that and then it would run that automation for you.
Charmaine, does that answer your question?
Thank you. So mostly, just to clarify, so the example that you gave, and thank you, Kaz, wonderful presentation. So the example that you gave, the 14-day trial, let's say I have someone that created their account in the last week, and I wanted to deactivate 14 days from the date that they activated their account. I can take that date that the account was created and say deactivate based on that past date, correct?
Oh. I'll have to look into if we could do something like that. It would basically do it based on the date that you click the manual automation trigger, with the way that I showed. But yeah, we wouldn't be able to do it based on the date that they were created with that manual button.
And just one final question. So can you pass a value to say, deactivate so many days from manually entering that value?
No, not yet. Yeah, we don't have time-based actions yet, but we are looking into being able to do that. Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, thank you.
Donald asks, can you jump into an automation?
Like start from a specific step.
Donald, do you want to unmute and just clarify a little bit?
Yeah, like kind of like what Charmaine was talking about. If you have an account and then you're setting up the automations and you want to bring somebody in, but it's on like step 13 out of 20, can you jump that into the automation?
Yeah, no, we can't. But that's a really great question. Because that would be a good feature to be able to do. So
Yeah, because if we're seeing this for the first time and we have accounts and whatnot set up, then you want to be able to bring your existing client base into the automation flow.
Yeah.
You don't want them getting, welcome aboard emails.
Yeah, that's a great, like, instead of manually starting from the beginning, you might want to manually start from, step 5 or whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
that's
all right.
awesome.
Thanks.
Cool. This is great.
Does anyone else have any questions for Kaz at the moment? If you can't think of something right now, John can start his side and we can always come back. But I see David said, I would like to download my automations. David, or get like a full frame screenshot of everything.
Like they're quite large and you can't fit them on the screen kind of thing. We do have these like zoom in, zoom out buttons now. It doesn't like it's quite small. But yeah, being able to like print out all the steps is something that we might.
Yeah, because like if you zoom out, then you can't take a screenshot of it. And the reality is that if you have like 3 or 4 automations that kind of work together, there's no way to like print it out and put on the table, look at it side by side, or export it to XML and look at it in a code editor and look at it side by side. But these things touch each other.
Yeah.
And then for which matter, there's no way to like take a backup before you start messing with things.
Yeah, for sure.
And if we could export all our automation, if we could export everything to XML, then work on it, then have this ability to back up, or maybe even the ability to edit these things in XML format as an advanced user. I mean, it's not quite like API level. It's something between, and automations are meant for users. APIs are meant for programmers. But in the middle, I could open this stuff. I could script these in XML and it would save so much time and allow me to copy and paste.
Yeah, that's good feedback as well. We are working on being able to version automation so you can like edit an existing one while it's running and then have, a second version of it that you're working on. But yeah, we've been talking about ways to view automations differently as well. Instead of like these nodes, have it like written format so it's smaller and easier to see. So like, when I can't even read this, when this automation is triggered manually, activate Social Marketing Express, just like text instead, which is probably closer to the XML format that you're talking about. But maybe we'll chat with you and see what other ideas you've got around this type of exporting.
Yeah, because what I ended up having to do is I ended up going through all my 25 automations, zooming into them to the point where I could take a screenshot, exporting all the screenshots and lining them up inside of Figma just to like, I don't know, look at them side by side to see what was causing what to do why.
Yeah,
And it's a very frustrating experience.
Yep.
Okay.
That's really good feedback, for sure.
David, if you want to just share your email with me, you can like send a private message to myself for Kaz. We can sync up and you can kind of go over what you are thinking. Okay, I'm going to kick it over to Mr. John Neher, and he's going to go over marketing automations.
Thank you kindly. And I will actually kind of start in the automations world as well too. And the reason for that is when we talk about marketing automations, it's really almost a subset of the automations that we have in our platform. Or when you think of the history of Vendasta, we came out with some marketing automations quite a few years back before I was in the company, of ways of performing some of these actions in these bite-sized pieces. But now we're moving to have them integrated with inside of automations, as well as we're adding some new features as well too. So these features were already announced as upcoming releases, and we'll take a look at them in a little bit more in depth here as well too. But what I wanted to do first is look at some really common use cases and build some of these automations with you here. So I'm going to start sharing a screen of some examples that I used for actually some internal training. So you should be able to see I have 3 scenarios here that we're going to build some automations with. And if you would like, you're more than welcome to fire up an instance of your partner center. I'm sure you're already logged in anyways. And we're going to go and we can build some automations together here too. Some that are more in the plain automation space, and then some that are very much into that marketing automation idea. So we're going to start with a simple one here where when an account is created and the website field is blank, we're going to create a task for the salesperson to update that information. We need to know whether they do have a website or not. And if they do have a website, then maybe the snapshot report will tell us a little bit more info. So let's go do that. So I'm in a partner center instance. You're going to go from your main partner center login to the automations tab. And you might have a couple automations or no automations, or maybe just a nice video telling you about automations. But we're going to start by going to create automation. And right up at the beginning, we have an option to choose a template. There's some really nice templates that you can use as starting points here. But we're going to go completely from blank because we might not be sure if this fits into something else already. So we're going to start and use this template. And this blank template, we get the choice of whether this is going to be an automation that is for an account in order that we send 4 accounts, or for a user that might be on multiple accounts. So when we think of accounts, right, we're thinking of the business, things related to the business. Maybe there's 2 people that I'm contacting at the business, but whether this happens on the business is how we're going to be creating this automation. I'm going to pull up the chat here just to see. Very good. So we're going to select a market. Most people here won't be using markets, which is great because it makes them more confusing. But looking back at that scenario, when an account is created is going to be our first trigger step, the trigger to start this automation. And I think so many of what I heard people asking for is, I want things to start happening as soon as an account is added. And that's a really great common trigger that we can use, especially when we think of things like marketing automation. We want to start building some top of funnel content, right, to get our leads interested. So right up at the top, because we recognize how important this is as a trigger, an account is created is going to be our starting trigger. And we could just save and be good right there. But let's look back again. And we said, when an account is created and the website field is blank. That's actually a condition that we can take from this. So when an account is created, we're going to add a condition for starting this automation. When the account is created and the website does not exist, we're going to do something. So this makes sure that this automation only runs when an account is created and we don't have information on that website. So what did I want to do? I wanted to create a task for the salesperson to update the information. There's our trigger. We're now going to add in the event. We're going to create a task for the salesperson. Now there's the spot for create a fulfillment task. That lives inside of Task Manager, and maybe that's what you want to use. But if we keep on scrolling down under sales, we've got create a sales task. So we're going to create a sales task that will appear in Sales and Success Center, and we're going to make it say, make sure that there is a website. And if we wanted to, we could even put in some dynamic content so that it says, you know, the name of the business. Make sure that there is a website for business name. Right now, we're creating that task for the assigned salesperson, or we could put it for one specific person. We're going to go for the assigned salesperson, and we're going to say after the account is created, we want to have that task due in a day. We should figure that information out right away to decide whether we can sell to this person a website or not. So looking back, when an account is created and the website field is blank, create a task for the salesperson to update the information. And when we read through, trigger. When an account is created and account website does not exist, is blank. Create the make sure that there is a website sales task for the assigned salesperson. Awesome. So that's a real simple two-step piece there, right? When something happens, and something really specific happens in this case, then we're going to have another event happen. So I saw a message in the chat, and we're so close to those sorts of deep ones. But let me meet sort of in the middle of things where we're waiting on these SMB, these customers doing actions. So I'm going to skip this middle one, and I'm going to go to our scenario 3. When an account is created, send them an email campaign. If they click on it within 21 days, put them on one list and create an opportunity. If they don't click on it within 21 days, add them to a different list. So this is a marketing automations piece, right? We're automating the marketing that we're going to be doing. So I could like edit this one all out to make it new, but we're going to go back. We're going to create a new blank template. And it's going to be an account. And again, a lot of people really like thinking about this from the start of your marketing funnel, when an account is created. So let's do that. An account is created as our first piece. And maybe no matter what, we're going to always send email campaigns as soon as an account is created. Great. We'll just go for our next step and start a campaign for the account. Then we get to choose which campaign it's going to be. And we're going to use this +++ campaign. Reminds me of selling on eBay back in the day. A ++++ seller. All right, great. Now, right away, it's showing, hey, to send a campaign, there needs to be a user associated with the account. Add a step to wait until a user is associated with the account. So this is a little bit of a nudge here. There's a couple ways that we could do this. If you know that you're always creating users when you're creating an account, you can just put in a short little delay and say, wait for maybe not 1 day, maybe 1 hour, or you could get a little bit more specific and say, wait 5 minutes. Because that's usually enough time to make sure that a user is going to be associated with this account. And we can see, cool, all good, no problems there. All right. So we've got the first piece of this. When an account is created, we're going to wait for 5 minutes to make sure that there's someone we can send an email to. And then we're going to start an email campaign. The next piece is we want to say, if they click on it within 21 days, put them on one list and create an opportunity. And if they don't click on it in 21 days, we're going to add them to a different list. So there's a really powerful logic step building block that if we go down, all the way to the bottom, we have delay until an event happens. So whenever you're thinking about, I want to do something in reaction to something, this is probably what we want to do. So I'm going to click that here. And we have to decide whether the data is coming from the trigger or from the account. This fits in with some of the awesome work that the team is doing, and we'll see some more options later. But this would be okay to just continue on with. And we want to wait until there's activity on a campaign email. We want to wait for the email to get clicked on, and specifically that +++ campaign. We're going to wait 21 days. And then we start to get some branching paths. Looking back, reading, thinking, when an account is created, send them an email campaign. Good, we're there. If they click on it in 21 days, we're going to go from one side. And if they don't, we're going to do another thing. So let's look at the positive. We're going to put them on a list and create an opportunity. All right. Right up near the top, we have the opportunity to add the account to a list. So we can do that. And we're going to choose the list clean. I'm guessing since they're clicking on this email campaign, they're probably a hot lead. So we want to make sure that we have a dollar value associated with them and they're in our CRM pipeline so that we can do something. So I'm going to create an opportunity, create a sales opportunity. By the way, I'm scrolling through all of this here. If you know what you want, you can just type it in and it'll appear. But there we go. We're going to create a sales opportunity. And we're going to put in the website consultation package for a price of $100. Give it a name. Assign it to the salesperson in the proper pipeline at the contact stage of the pipeline, perhaps. With a contract date, we can get really specific in here to make sure that we're building out a sales process for ourselves and for anyone else who might be working with us that will make sure whenever an account is created and they click through the campaign, we're going to have this information there for us. Awesome. Maybe if they don't click through that campaign, we're going to have them go and be added to a different list. And then if that's what's going to happen, that's going to be the end of the automation. There's a really great piece to end this automation. We can leave a reason. And that way it's going to make our automation much clearer to see where the endpoints are. Reading through one more time. When an account is created, send them an email campaign. If they click on it in 21 days, we're going to put them on one list and create an opportunity. But if they don't click on it within 21 days, we're going to add them to a different list. Account created. Wait 5 minutes so that we can make sure we're going to send the user an email campaign. Wait until a link is clicked. We're going to wait up to 21 days. And if they click in that 21 days, we're going to add them to a list. And then we're going to create an opportunity. But if they don't click, we're going to add them to a different list. And we're going to end the automation. Just one other thing that I want to highlight here. When Kaz showed off some of the automations, we saw that there was the opportunity to create some really, really huge ones. One of the ones that Kaz showed was actually one that I created for internal use for our Vendasta onboarding team. And I would say that sometimes that's too much. You might want to actually keep some smaller ones here, because when we do something like add an account to the clean list, we can use that as a jumping off point. So great, this is our one automation. And I can then have another automation that starts, oops, there we go. When an account is added to a list, the clean list. And I can start new things happening there. So it just kind of goes back to what David, I think, was saying, where sometimes it's hard to see a really, really, really big email campaign, or excuse me, a real big automation in one spot. And you might prefer to instead break them up into smaller ones so you can understand small workflows. But then you do have to kind of jump between automations. So it's up to you whether you want to have those really long portions or some smaller ones that let you break things up a little bit more. Now, I saw a lot of questions. I'm going to go a little bit backwards from bottom to top. Jim, is there an automation library? So when you go to create an automation, there are these templates that appear that you can use as starting points. And I think they're not bad. They're usually very simple. One trigger, and then a couple of actions that happen afterwards. One that's really popular is when a user is active in business app, notify a salesperson. And we've got a little branching activity there too. So there are some good starter automations here also available, but I'm actually looking at, like literally just before this meeting, I gave a presentation to the company about how I think we can do a better job of providing you some templates. So I'm going to see what I can do with that. Now, for the questions around how to create an email marketing campaign, I'm really excited to show for you today that we have coming out soonish a new email builder. So I'm going to jump into that really quickly. If I go to the marketing tab, there are a bunch of different places I can create email campaigns. I'm going to start in this customer acquisition spot. And I'm going to create a campaign. And so this is how you create these drip email campaigns. So you're going to be putting accounts on these drips with the idea that once someone is on this campaign, unless you're using our automation library to stop it or something else, they're going to get all of these emails. But I can very easily create a new email. So this is our new email builder. Let me drop actually in the chat. I've got a nice upcoming release article for you that talks about it. But this is a great way for you to create emails quickly and see what they might look like on desktop or on a mobile phone. So here we go. We can have a quick view of how the subject line and the preview might look on mobile versus on desktop. And then add in a whole bunch of cool blocks. So I could add in an image. Add in a button. And use it to link to something like my business app or my business app store. See what it looks like on different formats. And then drag these content blocks around if I want to change the order. Maybe I want to have the button right up at the top before this picture of me. Kathy, great question about embedding a video in an email. Right now, I would suggest that you don't do that. We do have the option to put in raw HTML, and you can embed video in an email, but there's just no certainty that that video is going to play, depending on which inbox your customer is opening it from. So we do have that option available for you. Go ahead. But I think your best bet right now would be instead to use an image block with a picture of that video and then link to that video somewhere else. So if I save this template, someone was asking about, was that automation step the whole thing to create an email campaign? Nope. If I want to create an email campaign, what I just did there is all I have to do. But if I want to create a more complex user flow that is reacting to actions that my customers are taking, then that's where we need to start combining pieces inside of automations. Oh, great question there, George. Already got it. If we look at this top logo, I can change the size of the logo to be as big as I want, more or less, or as small as I want, or I can hide it. Just some other, I'm like literally going right to the wire here. Some other cool things that we're going to be doing with marketing automation here too. We're going to have it so that you can start segmenting in your automations by more specific segmentation options. So what I mean by that is we've added in, and it'll be available relatively soon, the ability to filter accounts based on a life cycle stage, whether they're a lead, a prospect, or a customer. And you can then have different things happening, whether they're leads or customers or prospects. So that's our life cycle stages. And let me drop that in the chat for you. Lead, prospect. Customer. Oh, oh dear. Let's try with just 2. There we go. And then one other thing that we're adding fairly soon here, we're just going through a testing process, is a custom fields. So maybe you're working with dentists and you need to have with all of your customers, you need to send a different email campaign based on the number of patients that they have. Well, now you're able to record that information on accounts and then send that out in different ways. So we're adding a whole bunch of different ways that you can segment your email marketing campaigns that you're creating with Email Builder, and then segment and create more complex workflows using our automation system. Let me throw in the upcoming release article for custom fields as well there too. Make sure that you're, you know, you do you, but whenever we're going to release something or we're looking for trusted testers, you're going to find out, you can find out about it in our our weekly emails, or I'll post about it as well inside of our support resource center there as well. So keep your eyes there for those things to come out relatively soon. Jeremy, when is the new email builder coming out? I don't know. You should maybe attend Conquer Local Connect to find out. Oh.
Thanks so much, John. I'm going to drop the registration link for Connect because I think a couple little birdies already know that we're going to be talking about Proposal Builder. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, quickly for next week. Vish, are you still on the call?
Hi, Colleen, I'm here.
There you are. Okay, Vish has just a little bit of announcement about who is coming and joining us next week.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Conquerors. Happy Friday to all of you. So yesterday we held an educational webinar with a digital mid-market digital agency from New Jersey. His name is Jack Pyers, and he gave a really fantastic webinar. We had 220 people register. We had about 90 attendees, and he gave a fascinating talk over a couple of topics that I'm sure are really pertinent to you as agencies right now: how to deal with inflation, how to scale, how to kind of protect your business against tough economic conditions, how do you generate leads virtually, and how do you use virtual networking to diversify your business outside of your physical location. So, for example, he's branched out of New Jersey, and he's gone acquired clients in Virginia just from using Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups. So we did a 45-minute webinar yesterday. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post a replay to that webinar in the Conquer Local forum by the end of today. So keep a lookout for it and have a look at that replay. Jack's going to be on community session next Friday, and so he's going to talk to you, and he's going to build on those conversations and respond to the many questions that we had that he didn't get to answer. And it's really about how to grow your agency. It's quite the journey, I guess, going from a solopreneur to having a team of 5-6 people, and how do you handle all that? So Jack's going to be our special guest next week, and he's going to come talk to you about the challenges in growing and some of the things that he uses well at Vendasta in order to scale and grow his business.
Awesome. Thank you, Vish. So again, just a quick recap. Jack is going to be coming next week. We'll get him to do a quick little recap of his presentation, and he's going to come in and answer a bunch of questions as well from that were left over. So it's 4 minutes past 11:30. I will let you all get back to your day. Happy Friday, and everyone stay safe out there. Take care. I'll see you next week.